Hello, my name is Leroy Blevins. Welcome to Mysteries and Histories. In this episode here, what I want to do is I want to talk about why I don't believe a lot of stories and a lot of research that has been done on a JFK assassination case is because of pure simple facts. Now, before I get started into this, and the reason why I want to make this video is because I got people asking me, sending me emails and stuff saying, why don't you want to publish other people's research on your sites or talk about other people's research, or anything else. And the reason why is because I don't want to be in the middle of sending out false information, okay, or anything else like that. And a lot of people says, well, how do you know it's false information? Because, see, I know it's false information by doing an investigation and doing research into the JFK assassination case. Okay, and as you see behind me, there is some images that I'm going to talk about and the reason why, and show you the reason why I don't believe in a lot of stories from eyewitnesses accounts or anything else on what they claim they seen that day. Okay, because see, a researcher, like I said, I'm not going to blame a researcher or anything else like that, because a researcher is only going to write in his book of what is told to him, okay, or that person. They're only going to write down what is told to them, and they're going to present that. Yeah, they're going to use it as evidence, but they're only basing it on because this person said they're an eyewitness account. Just like I said, when it comes to JFK assassination, it was like a window to open up for anybody and everybody to make money off of it, because the pure simple fact of it is no one knows exactly what happened that day. So we have individuals stepping in saying this and saying that. Just like when it came to like Jean Hill. We're going to start off with her, Jean Hill, her story. When you go over the first testimonies that Jean Hill gave, okay, and we're talking about the day of the assassination now. Okay, after assassination, 30 minutes later, she was interviewed by a news reporter, and it's in camera. 30 minutes later, she was interviewed by a news reporter and stuff, and it was her and Mary Mormon. And they asked Jean Hill, did you see where the shots came from? She said, no, I didn't see where the shots came from. I heard the shots, but I didn't see where they came from. Okay. Then, as years go by, someone offers her a book deal. Then she comes out and she changes her story around. She says, now, after the assassination, she goes ahead and the FBI or CIA takes her into this room and basically interrogate her for 2 hours or 3 hours, because she sat there and she goes, they told me, she says, no, I heard the gunshot came from the grassy knoll, is what she said, from behind a picket fence. And in her story now, and she sat there and she goes, and they said, no, you didn't see where the gunman was. The gunshots came from the Texaco Book Depository. They're pushing this on her. And she claims she went through all this time to do it. But remember, half an hour after assassination, she was in front of a camera and a news reporter claiming that she heard the shots, but she didn't see where the shots came from. It wasn't until she got her book deal and her story started changing. It's like she says that Mrs. Kennedy was holding on to a dog. Well, everybody knows that Mrs. Kennedy and them didn't have no animals with them that day, or no dogs or anything else. Now, when we watch the films and we watch the images, okay, because she's, like I said, she's claiming that the shots came from behind the picket fence because she's seen it. So when I started looking at the films and images and stuff, I kept my eye on Jean Hill to see what she was actually looking at, which I'm going to pull up right here. Here's frame 300 of the Zapruder film. Now, what do you see here? Now remember, frame 300 of the Zapruder film, frame 300. Keep that in mind. We have Mary Mormon aiming up her camera, following JFK's limo. Where is Jean Hill looking at? She's not looking at JFK or nothing. She is looking at the police officer on the motorcycle. Watch. We can study this film. We can watch this film. Here's Jean Hill right here. She's going to look over this way, and she's going to follow this police officer here. Now watch. This is frame 300. 301, 302, 303. Here's frame 303. 10 frames before JFK was shot. Where's she still looking at? She's looking at the officer on the motorcycle behind JFK's limo. You see Mary Mormon, she's looking over at the Kennedys. Jean Hill is not even looking at in that direction. So she cannot be even looking at the direction of the picket fence area. And then we go to next frame, next frame, next frame, next frame. Now she's looking directly at the police officer right here. We can see the police officer right here, which I'll zoom in. Again, here's Mary Mormon, still looking at Kennedy's. Remember, Kennedy's, watch my cursor, is way over here. Kennedy's is way over here. Mary Mormon is staring with her camera, aiming at the Kennedys. Jean Hill is looking directly at this officer right here. Here's that officer right here. That's who she's following. She's following this officer here because we can see her looking directly at him in the Zapruder film. Oops, let me go back here. That was frame 305, right? No, 307, excuse me. Frame 307. Now here's 308, 309, 3010. Where's she looking at still? She's looking directly at this officer right here on the motorcycle. Still looking at him. Okay? 3 frames before JFK was shot. She's still looking at this officer right here. Mary Mormon has got her camera over here at the Kennedys. Look at the angle of her head. She's not even bothered looking over here anywhere by the Kennedys. She's too busy looking at this officer right here on the motorcycle. Now we're going to go to the next one. Oops. Got to go all the way back. There we go. Frame 311, 312, and we're going to start seeing this is the last we see of her in the film before the shot was fired. As you see here, even in close-up, Mary Mormon has got her camera over here to the Kennedys. Jean Hill is looking directly at this officer right here. We can see her face looking directly right here at this officer here. So she's not going to see where that shot came from. She's not going to see it come from the picket fence area. And we all know that Mrs. Kennedy, excuse me, is not holding the dog. So you see what I'm saying? In the beginning, Jean Hill claimed she didn't see where the shots came from. She heard the shots, but she didn't see where they came from. Okay? In the Zapruder film and other films, we watch these films. We see these films. Jean Hill is not even looking at the Kennedys. She's paying too much attention to the police officer on the motorcycle, which in her story, she claimed that her and Mary Mormon went down there to see these police officers that's going to be in a motorcade. So Jean Hill is more concentrating on that officer on the motorcycle than what is actually going on around in the surroundings. She was, as I pointed out, and I show you, she wasn't even looking at the Kennedys or even the direction of the Kennedys. The only way she could see a shot fired from the picket fence area, she would have to be looking at towards the Kennedys themselves to see that picket fence up there. But she wasn't. She was too concentrating with her head down, looking at the guy on the motorcycle. That's what she was paying attention to, which we can see in the films. So now her story is false. Okay, her story now is false. Now we cannot use this information that she gives us saying she's seen gunmen behind a picket fence. She was threatened with her life by the government. The government was after her, threatening her. You know, so we cannot use her story because it was all made up to sell a story in a book to make money off the JFK assassination. 90% of the stories that's told, and it actually is 90% of the stories that's told from the research and stuff that has been done on this case was false information. That only leaves 10% of it being reality and 90% being fiction. Okay, that was Jean Hill. Now let's look at Beverly Oliver. Beverly Oliver claimed she was the babushka lady. At the time, Beverly Oliver was 16 or 17 years old at the time. She claimed she was a babushka lady, and she goes around, she wrote a book. But remember, this claim didn't come out until 1970. 1970 is when she started claiming she was the babushka lady. And then she wrote a book and brought it out and started selling it. She travels around, even still today, travels around, gives her encounter of what happened that day, telling about what type of camera she used. The government came and took her camera, took her film. She never seen it since then. But then someone seen her film, supposedly when they was in there, and someone snuck out 4 frames from her film and gave it to her, so she shows that as her film and stuff like that as well. The frames that she actually showing from, basically she says from her film, was not from her film. It's actually from the Orville Nix film. The 4 frames she's showing can be identified by, when you study the Orville Nix film, you will see that they're Orville Nix film frames, not from her camera or nothing else. But she's claiming that it was from her film, but it's not. It was from the Zapruder film. This can be proven. So right there, that part of her story is false. Now, when we watch a Zapruder film and other films and other images that was taken that day, we will see that the babushka lady right here has dark hair. Okay, Beverly Oliver has blonde hair. When this is brought to her attention that, hey, the babushka lady has dark hair, either it's black or dark brown, and she goes, well, I wear wigs. Okay, after this was brought up to her, now she says she wear a wig that day. She wore a black wig that day. Okay, then she goes on and says the camera that she uses, okay, was this type of camera here, a Yashka camera. Okay, this is the type of camera she used, a movie camera. This is the type of camera she claims she used. Okay, now here is an image taken on the set of JFK. Here's Beverly Oliver sitting right here, and here about on the grass area here of Dealey Plaza. This woman here next to her is portraying Beverly Oliver. And as you see, the camera that she has in her hand, okay, was a movie camera. Okay, and it's supposedly been a Yashka camera. Okay, now she claimed that's the type of camera she was using. However, we're going back into the story again. This type of camera did not come out, or was not even manufactured until 1967, 4 years after the assassination. Then when this was brought to her attention, she says, no, it was a prototype. Well, the prototype for this type of camera came out in 1966. Again, 3 years after the assassination. There was no prototype of this type of camera before that time period, before 1966. Okay, it came from 1966 after, because this camera was manufactured in 1967. Prototype came out in 1966. But she still claims that that's the camera she used. No matter what you say, it's still the camera she used. We see the babushka lady in the Zapruder film, and we can see that she's actually the type of camera that she's using is more of a box camera. It's like this. It's more of a box camera. And we know this is a box camera because there's other images taken of the babushka lady, which is one right here. She's got same bushka on, same clothes and everything else. Here's her camera. As you see, her camera that she's holding in her hand is a box camera. Not a movie camera, a box camera. Now the type of camera she's holding in her hand is this type of camera here, a Sears Tower camera. That's the type of camera she's holding in her hand. This camera here is not a movie camera, it's a still shot camera. Okay, takes individual frames. Now, when we line this up with the camera that she has in her hand, we can see they're almost identical, which I'll pull up this image right here, which will make it easier for you to see. As you see, this box camera here matches up to the box camera that she's holding in her hand, a babushka lady now. This camera here doesn't even come close. Doesn't even come close whatsoever. Okay, so the story that Beverly Oliver is claiming, okay, that she was the babushka lady, and everything that she claimed in her story is false information. And this is what people are pushing in their research and in their books, and even in the JFK assassination. When you have a person that's telling a story, okay, and you're using that as evidence, you cannot use it as evidence, because the pure simple fact of it is, anything that you use false in your information in your story blows your whole case out of the water. Every bit of research that you've done is blown out of the water because of one incident, one testimony. Okay, In these testimonies, they're using Gene Hill's testimony, which we know that was a false story. They're using Beverly Oliver's testimony, which again is a false story. So what we're seeing in JFK assassination movie, JFK, is false information. What we're reading in researchers' books, again, I want to point out, we're not blaming the researchers. We're blaming the people that's telling it. Okay, they're telling the false story, and the researcher's going to write it down and put it down. That's because they're only based on what they're hearing that's told to them. Then you got these people around here saying that they're this person, that person, everything else, and they're telling false information. Just like people sit there and goes about a camera. Well, I was filming, like in her statement, I was filming the Kennedys, and I seen the shot coming from the picket fence area. Okay, this is, we're going to use the Zapruder camera, a copy of the Zapruder camera here. All right, now look at this. Here is the lens. Right here, you have to look through the viewfinder. So I'm looking through the viewfinder. Now I got to keep this eye closed, because if I keep this eye open, I'm not going to be able to follow the subject, which is the Kennedys. I'm not going to follow them. So I got to keep my eye right on the Kennedys as I'm filming with my eyes closed. Now, through this little viewfinder, you're not going to see any kind or any type of shot coming from no picket fence area, because it's too small of a hole. You're not going to pick nothing up until after you develop the film. You're not going to see where no shots came from in this camera or any other type of camera. Just like when you're sitting there and you're concentrating on that viewfinder, you're concentrating on that little hole, because all you're doing is seeing a small picture at this point. Okay, even if you use cameras today. If I was viewing a camera like this and I was recording, okay, I'm not looking in the surroundings. I'm not looking at it. I'm looking at this little image on the screen. The reason why I'm looking at this little image on the screen is because I keep that subject in front view of this lens here. So I'm going to concentrate on this little window here. Same thing you would with a regular camera. You're concentrating, you're looking through a little window, which you're going to see a small, fine picture. So you can keep that subject in your lens view. You're not going to see no shots coming from no picket fence area, and you're going to have one eye closed. One eye open, one eye closed. So you can see if I have both eyes open, I'm going to end up, that camera's not even going to record any subject or anything else. It's going to be going off from the subject. Okay, these are things that I look at when it comes to research, and I have to look at it. None of their stories fit, just like the Babushka lady. Even if she had an eye open with a camera like this, it's going to block up her whole face anyway, because if we watch Zapruder film, it's like this in front of her. Okay, the viewfinder is on this side of the camera, so it's going to be like this. So even if both her eyes open, they're not going to, you're not going to be able to see no gunman behind a picket fence. But this is the reason why that blows the gunman behind a picket fence, okay, which people don't understand. When people's making up these false stories, they're hurting the case in the long run. They're hurting in the long run because they're not worried about hurting the case. They're worried about how much money you can make off it, how much fame, how much glory. Because anybody in JFK assassination, you go ahead and figure it out, you're going to be put in the history books. That's what people look at. They want to look in the history books. They want to look at all that fame and all that glory, you know, from book sales or going to conferences and stuff like that, because that's what they want. They want people to talk about them. They want to be in that limelight. They want to say, I'm that star. You know, like I pointed out in my other videos, this is a murder case. Okay, this is a murder case. It's not about fame. It's not about glory. It's not about making money. But when you have people telling false information, this blows out of water. This is why you take people that believes there was only 3 shots fired and Oswald's a lone assassin, because of all these conspiracy researchers over here are using these false stories. And then these researchers over here saying, no, this can't be the Babushka lady because it's the wrong camera. It came out in the wrong time. This ain't the same woman and everything else. And that means her story is false. That means that gunman she claimed was behind a picket fence is false story. So boom, that's blown out of the water. Gene Hill says all this, and if you watch the films and stuff like that, these people over here believes in only a lone assassin is going to blow these people in the conspiracy world out of the water because Gene Hill's story is false. So you got all these people false stories saying the gunman was on the grassy knoll behind a picket fence area there, but their stories are false. So if the whole story is false, that gunman behind that picket fence is false. Okay, that's what I'm talking about. This is why I don't like people putting other people's research on my account or going into other people's research or anything else because of the false claims. I found this information out when I first started doing my investigation. When I first started taking on this case, I went ahead, sent out for the copies of the films, images, and everything else. And as I was waiting, I went to the bookstores, libraries, got other researchers' books, started going through their testimonies they got. I got a copy of the JFK movie by Oliver Stone, watched it time and time again. And then when I was sitting there saying, well, for me to look for this, I better look at this first, like Bellevue Oliver being a babushka lady. Was she the babushka lady? Let me see if there's evidence that shows that she was actually a babushka lady. Let's see if the evidence that she claims in her book matches what we see and everything else. And when you're looking for it and you find that everything that she says in this book or in her story, I should say, doesn't match up to anything that we actually see. Okay, and it's like, wait a minute, then her story has got to be, her story is false. So there wasn't a gunman behind a picket fence area. But there's other people claim there was. Then we go into Jean Hill, started investigating her story. Then we seeing this and seeing that and going over the facts and everything else. You go, oh my gosh, there we go again. We can't believe her story. So her gunman behind a picket fence blows out of the water. This is what I look at. People understand this. This is what I look at. Before, when I do my investigation, when I do my research, I have to see if these people are telling the truth as well. Because anything that they say that's false and that's written down can blow your research out of the water. It can blow it out of proportion. That's why I don't like using the eyewitness accounts, because you cannot rely on their story, because their stories change and their stories get more added on to it. They got to add that more suspense into it. And then there's other eyewitnesses out there that just blanks out lies just to get that fame and glory. Okay. I'm not making this video to put anybody down. Okay. I'm making this video to let people know the reason why I don't use a lot of eyewitness accounts, the reason why I don't like people posting other people's stuff on my site or, on my videos or anything, because I don't want to be a part of that field of putting out false claims and false stories. My research is about the truth. My research is I do a thoroughly investigation. Now, I'm constantly asked questions. Other researchers don't have to answer no questions. You want to ask, they put the stuff in a book. They tell you to buy the book. You want to know the truth, they'll find, buy my book. They don't get the questions asked to them all the time. I do. Okay. I'm constantly getting people asking me questions. Okay. Emails and all this other stuff constantly asking me questions. Okay. I don't mind answering the questions. Okay. I don't mind showing. But just like this right here, I'll make this video here to let you know a reason why I don't like having people post their stuff on my sites or anything, because I don't want to be a part of that. Okay. This is why I don't, when people post something that says, well, what about this person? Say this person, that's their research. I tell them that's their research. It's not my research. I'm showing you in here a reason why I don't show or use these kind of people's research in mine, because it's all falsified information that was given to the public. Okay. Like I said, I'm not downing the people for doing it, because, hey, everybody wants, that's the American dream. Fame, glory, money. That's the American dream. That's what people want. Okay. They want to be put in that history book so people 100 years from now can still read about them and stuff. To me, it's not about the history. It's not about the fame. It's not about the glory. It's not about, the American dream of being rich and all this stuff from a story. Okay. To me, it's about solving a murder case. That's what it's always been about from day one since I started. It's to solve a murder case, to find the answers that people's been looking for. I've done that job. It took me a long time just to make sure and piece everything together. I want to make this video to let everybody know the reason why I don't like people posting other people's stuff on there, and the reason why I don't use a lot of people's testimonies and stuff, because it's hard to believe their stories, because you got pure facts. Like I said, you got over on this side here, you got the people that believes in just 3 shots fired and Oswald being a lone assassin. Okay. And then you got the conspiracy people over here on this side. But when they're using these people's information, and then these people come back and fire right back at them, excuse me, and boom, blows their stuff out of the water, and it can be blown out of water. This is why today, now they claim that more American people today believes there was a conspiracy than the 3 shots and stuff, but that's really not true as well. If you take the majority of everybody in the whole world, you're going to see that more people still believes that Oswald was a lone assassin because of these researchers over here blowing these researchers out of the water. They believe in Oswald as a lone assassin. There was only 3 shots fired that day. The ones that the tests that they do and the polls they set up is in the JFK community. They're the ones say, well, these people vote more of a conspiracy than these people over here. But when you view it for the whole globe itself out of the JFK assassination research field, you will see that there's actually still more people believe in the 3 shots and Oswald doing it. And that's it. Okay. That's it. So see, people's going to say what they want because they want that drama. They want to make that money. So they're going to try to pull people in. And the more views they get, the more, excuse me, just like in TV show, more views they get and everything else, more money they make. And that's what they want. A movie, you make a movie, you put a lot of drama into it, you put a lot of suspense into it, you make a lot of money. If you go ahead and you point the truth, say, here's what happened, here's the truth, you're not going to make nothing. Thank you. Don't forget to tell your friends about us. Don't forget to hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe. Tell your friends about us. Tell your families about us. Share this video on social medias, on Facebook, Twitter, even with other friends, Thank you, and you have a pleasant, pleasant day.